Sally Field, born November 6, 1946 in Pasadena, California, USA, is one of Hollywood's most talented and respected actresses. At 78, she has left a lasting mark on the entertainment industry with a career spanning more than 6 decades, from her early television roles in Gidget and The Flying Nun to her emotional performances in films such as Norma Ray, Places in the Heart, and Forrest Gump. However, behind the glamour of stage and screen, Sally Field has endured deep sorrow, harsh challenges, and moments that have left her quietly weeping. The mother of 3 children, Peter Craig, Eli Craig, and Samuel Greisman, and a marriage to Stephen Craig and Alan Greisman, she has lived a rich life, but not without pain. Sally Field's life is a story of talent, perseverance, and courage in the face of life's storms. The greatest sadness in Sally Field's life was not the pressures of her career or the scrutiny of the public, but her complicated and often painful relationship with her mother, Margaret Field, and the lingering effects of a childhood marked by trauma and emotional neglect. Raised in Pasadena, Sally was the youngest of 2 children, the daughter of Margaret, an actress, and Richard Dryden Field, a salesman and former Army officer. Her parents' marriage was a turbulent one, ending in divorce when Sally was 4 years old. Margaret later remarried Jock Mahoney, a stuntman and cowboy star, who became Sally's stepfather. While Mahoney provided some stability, his relationship with Sally was strained, emotionally distant, and, as Sally later revealed, inappropriate behavior that left her with deep psychological scars. In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, Sally revealed that Mahoney had sexually abused her as a child, a secret she kept for decades. The trauma shaped her early years, leaving her with a sense of shame and a desperate need for validation. Her mother, loving in her own way, struggled with alcoholism and was often emotionally unavailable, unable to shield Sally from her pain or provide the nurturing she craved. Sally remembers lying awake at night, listening to her mother's drawling voice or Margaret and Mahoney's arguments, feeling completely alone in a house full of people. The loss of a stable, loving mother-daughter bond became a wound that never fully healed, even as Sally became a famous actress. When Margaret died in 2011, Sally was consumed by conflicting emotions: grief for the mother she loved, anger for the years of abandonment, and guilt for not being able to repair their relationship. She spent hours crying, trying to understand the love and pain that defined that relationship, a process she described as a never-ending excavation of the heart. This grief, combined with the trauma of her childhood, remained the deepest scar of her life, affecting her relationships, her self-image, and her relentless drive to prove herself worthy of love and respect. The absence of her mother's emotional presence was a constant companion, even as Sally built a career that made her a household name. She often felt like an outsider, even among her peers, struggling with feelings of inferiority that stemmed from her early years. Every role she took on, every award she won, was in part an attempt to fill the void left by her mother's abandonment and the abuse she suffered. The pain of those childhood nights when she felt invisible and unloved drove her to create resilient characters who fought for their place in the world and, in their own ways, sought the love they were denied. This sadness was not something she shared easily, even with those closest to her, but it was a quiet force in her life, shaping her into a woman both fiercely determined and deeply vulnerable. Sally Field's career has been a remarkable journey of resilience, self-reflection, and raw talent, marked by extraordinary successes, humbling failures, and moments of effort so intense that it brought her to tears. Her foray into acting was almost accidental, driven more by necessity than ambition. As a teenager, she was drawn to the stage by the encouragement of her teachers and the opportunity to escape her troubled home life. In 1965, at the age of 18, she landed the lead role in the television sitcom Gidget, playing a surfer-loving, energetic California girl. Though short-lived, the show made her a household name and led to the role of Mary Tate Farnsworth in The Flying Nun, 1967 to 1970, a comedy series about a nun in training who could fly. While The Flying Nun was a commercial success, it cemented Sally's image as a light-hearted, playful actress, a label she hated and struggled to shed for years. She hated the role, feeling it diminished her potential and trapped her in an image she wasn't truly herself. Behind the scenes, she struggled with self-doubt, often crying alone in her dressing room after filming, convinced she was wasting her talent on a show that didn't reflect her true abilities. She later described those years as a prison of my own making, a time when she felt powerless to escape the expectations of the industry. Determined to prove herself as a serious actress, Sally enrolled in acting classes at the Actors Studio in New York, studying under the legendary Lee Strasberg. The rigorous process of studying method acting forced her to confront her emotional trauma, often leaving her crying in rehearsals as she delved into her past pain to nurture her roles. Her breakthrough came in 1976 with the television miniseries Sybil, where she played a woman with multiple personality disorder. The role was a breakthrough, demonstrating her incredible ability to convey emotional depth. Sally threw herself into the role, spending hours researching mental disorders and working with psychologists to understand Sybil's psyche. The intensity of the role left her exhausted. She often cried in rehearsals, overwhelmed by the character's pain and her own buried trauma. Her performance earned her an Emmy and silenced critics who had dismissed her as a sitcom star, marking the beginning of her journey to becoming a great dramatic actress. In 1979, Sally gave a career-defining performance as Norma Ray Webster in Norma Ray, a film about a textile worker turned union organizer. The role resonated deeply with her, reflecting her own struggle to establish herself in a male-dominated industry. She spent weeks in North Carolina, observing factory workers and learning how to operate looms to portray Norma Ray authentically. The effort was exhausting, and there were moments when she cried on set, feeling the weight of the character's indomitability and her own determination to prove herself. Her performance earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, a triumphant moment she described as a recognition of everything I had fought for. She followed that up with another Oscar-winning performance in Places in the Heart, 1984, playing a widowed mother struggling to save her farm during the Great Depression. The role struck a chord with her, recalling her own experiences of resilience in the face of adversity. During filming, she often cried between takes, channeling her personal loss into the quiet strength of her character. Despite these successes, Sally's career was not always smooth. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, she faced a series of box office failures, including Punchline, 1988, and Not Without My Daughter, 1991, which failed to resonate with audiences or critics. These failures were deeply painful, reinforcing her fear of being seen as a washed-up star. She recalls nights sitting alone in her Los Angeles home, crying over scathing reviews, wondering if her best days were behind her. Ageism in the industry was also a challenge. By the time she turned 40, roles for women her age were scarce, and she struggled to avoid being pigeonholed into stereotypical mother roles. Her persistence paid off with roles like Mary Tate Curtis in Forrest Gump, 1994, where she brought subtlety to a supporting role, and Kate McAllister's mother in Home Alone, 1990, which introduced her to a new generation. In 2012, she received an Oscar nomination for her role as Mary Todd Lincoln in Lincoln, proving that her talent had not waned. Each of these comebacks was a testament to her refusal to give up. even when the odds seemed stacked against her. Sally's later career also included directing and producing. She directed episodes of the miniseries From the Earth to the Moon, 1998, and the film Beautiful, 2000, which received mixed reviews. The failure of Beautiful was a bitter pill to swallow. She had poured her heart and soul into the project, only to see it dismissed by critics. She cried for days after reading the reviews, feeling like she had let herself and her team down. Yet she continued to take risks, appearing in TV series like ER and Brothers and Sisters, winning another Emmy for the latter. Her career, spanning more than 60 years, is a mosaic of triumphs and tears, each role a step in her journey to overcome the insecurities of her youth. Sally Field's achievements were not limited to awards or box office success. They reflected her lifelong quest for authenticity, impact, and personal growth. One of her biggest goals was to break free from the stereotypes she had early in her career and establish herself as a versatile actress capable of taking on complex roles. The move from The Flying Nun to Norma Rae was a deliberate, difficult attempt to reinvent herself in an industry that often stereotyped women. She spent years honing her craft, attending workshops, and studying the performances of actors she admired, such as Meryl Streep and Marlon Brando. Every role she took was an opportunity to push her limits, from the passionate union organizer in Norma Rae to the grieving mother in Steel Magnolias, 1989. She wanted her work to resonate with audiences, tell important stories, and give voice to characters who, like he,